Well, credit has to be given where it's due, and kudos to Tata Motors for being one of the first Indian car makers to launch a relatively affordable EV in the market. This here is the Nexon EV, and when this car goes on sale, price is expected to start from about rupees 15-16 lakh rupees for this car, which makes it one of the most affordable cars in the EV space. And in terms of the looks, this car looks very similar in silhouette to the regular Nexon, but when you come up close to it, you realize that it is a lot more different looking than that car. Of course, the grille over here is completely covered because this car does not have an internal combustion engine, so you don't need that kind of cooling on the engine. So the grille is completely covered. You get EV badges all across. There's a different shape for the headlamps and also for the front bumper. But of course, the big highlight of this car's design is that you get a lot of blue indents all across. You get this huge blue line running right across below the grille. You also get a lot of blue running on the sides and a lot of blue at the back as well. And now, of course, blue is the color for EVs globally, and Tata Motors wants to show that this is not a normal or a regular IC version of the car, but a different one. You also get two shades for the body. You get a different shade for the roof and some different shades on the body panels. Anyways, those are the big changes on the outside. How is this car to drive and what are the big changes on the inside? Let's jump inside and I'll quickly take you for a spin and tell you how good and how different the Tata EV is to the regular version of the car. Let's get started. Well, so here I'm inside the cabin of the Nexon EV, and just like the exterior, Tata Motors has liberally used a lot of blue over here. There's blue around the aircon surround, there's blue around the gauges surround, and there's also blue on this side of the aircon vents, and there's also some blue over here in the middle. So this, of course, blue is for the electric charge, and Tata wants to show that this car is different from the regular IC version of the car. In terms of equipment, you get automatic headlamps, you get hill start assist, hill climb assist, as well as hill descent assist. Now, in terms of the overall ambience, it's a nice car. The plastic quality is very good. The switchgear is really nice. All the buttons have a nice and solid feel to them. The doors also have that same kind of reassuring feel that you see on the regular Nexon. So that's a big positive. You also get Android Auto as well as Apple CarPlay, and the stereo on this car is by Harman, which means that the quality of the music is really very good. Overall ambience is a nice place to be in. You'll enjoy sitting in this car over those long distance journeys. The only bit of negative is that when you put this gear lever in reverse, the reverse parking camera, the view over here is really, the resolution isn't very good. So that's something that maybe Tata should work on, because this is such a high-tech car. You expect the resolution to be good, and that's something which is missing. There's no gear lever, which means that you get place over here where you can keep something like this, some odds and ends over here. There's only this circular knob, where the earlier car had those drive modes. The regular car rather had the drive modes, the IC car. So that gear lever is removed, and all the modes, the drive mode, the reverse mode, neutral, as well as sport mode, are placed on this. In terms of storage places, it's a generous car to be in. Big door bins, plenty of place over here, and a large enough glove box. Overall, a nice and impressive place. The ambience also inside this car is pretty good. Well, so the back seat of the Nexon EV is completely unchanged. Yes, you get blue on the seats now. Stitching is in blue, and the design also has shades of blue on it, and it's the same kind of blue that you get on the outside. So Tata Motors is clearly going ahead and telling you that you're sitting inside an EV. Well, so here I am driving the Nexon EV now. Now, as you know, EVs are inherently very quiet because there's no traditional diesel engine clattering, or there's no petrol engine rattling under the bonnet. So it's no different with the Nexon EV. What you will like about this car is, of course, just like other EVs, power is instantly available. So you don't have to wait for, the turbo to spool, or 2000 RPM or 3000 RPM. Power instantly available just like that. That makes driving this car a pleasurable affair, especially if you drive around the city. And what's also nice about it is the fact that because the drivetrain, the electric motors, are much lighter than a traditional IC engine would be, there's less load on the front axle. So the steering wheel also on this car is much lighter, and that makes it a very good car to drive around the city as well. Unlike the diesel version of Nexon, where the steering wheel is really heavy, this one is a whole lot more lighter and makes it a much more easier car to drive within city limits. Now you only get two modes to choose from. There's a regular mode and then of course a sport mode. Now when you put it in sport mode, the power really is very quick and very good, and you've got to be very careful with your right leg, because if you flex it too much, it can really pull out the power and put you back in your seats like this, spin you back in your seats. So that's something that you've got to be very careful about. In terms of the overall acceleration, it is very brisk, and 0 to 100 comes up in a shade under 10 seconds, which is very good for this kind of car, and you'll really enjoy driving it around the bends. Now this car, remember, comes with a stiffened up suspension. So because of the extra weight of the battery pack, this car comes up with stiffened up suspension, which means that it's not as comfortable as the regular Nexon is, the regular petrol or diesel version of the Nexon. So even though it is quite comfortable and quite good, it isn't as comfortable when you compare it with those cars, because the suspension is slightly stiffer. So some of those rumble strips and some of those potholes can make their presence felt. They're not uncomfortable, and the suspension isn't uncomfortable in the least, but since that is that little bit of a benchmark that you can track it with, you can say that it isn't as nice and cushioning as the one on the regular Nexon, but otherwise it is quite okay. And all of you know that EVs don't make any noises like traditional IC engines do. So there's no diesel rattle, there's no turbo whistle, there's no such thing which troubles you inside the cabin. It's a very quiet cabin, and it's a very well insulated cabin. The only noise that you'll hear is a little bit of surface noise from the grounds up. It's not really tire noise, but since most Indian surfaces aren't very evenly paved or evenly made, those surface noise sometimes go into the cabin. There's no wind whistle as well, which really makes the cabin a very well isolated place and a great place to be for long distance journeys. Now, because there isn't an engine or a traditional engine up front, there are only motors which are lighter than a traditional IC engine. There's less load on the front axle, which means that driving this car around, steering wheel also is much lighter than the diesel Nexon and even the petrol Nexon. So that is also something which you'll truly enjoy if you're driving a lot in the city. Now, in terms of the suspension setup, remember this car has an additional battery pack, so there's a little bit more weight on the car suspension. So Tata Motors had to tune the suspension a little more stiffer, that will make the settings a little more stiffer. So when you compare it with the regular version of the car, the regular diesel or petrol, it is a little stiff, and sometimes you can feel some of those badly pastured roads, those rumble strips enter the cabin. It's not uncomfortable, don't get me wrong, don't say that are you saying it's uncomfortable, because it's not uncomfortable. But since we are comparing it with the benchmark that the Nexon has set, the regular version of the Nexon has set, so in that sense it is slightly a little more stiffer than that car. So that's something that you need to keep in check as well. The good point, of course, about a stiff suspension is that if you're rolling this car into corners or pushing in corners, there's less body lean than even the diesel version of the car. So it can be good fun to drive if you're taking it up the hills or coming down a hill. Now, talking about going up the hill or down a hill, this car, remember, comes with that hill assist feature also. So if you go up as well as when you come down, the regenerative braking does assist the car and helps the car, and you don't really have to worry too much about driving it in those modes as well. Talking about modes, you only get one mode to choose from. There's a drive mode, and then there's an extra mode called the sport mode. The sport mode, there's a lot more juice available for you, but of course it drains out the batteries also. And if you do, of course, choose the sport mode, then this car will do 0 to 100 in a shade over 9 seconds. Yes, it is quite a quick car, and the acceleration also is very brisk. Being an EV means that power and torque is available right from the word go, so you don't have to wait for the turbo to spool like on a traditional car and a traditional engine car rather. And in that sense also, the power as well as driving pleasure is available right from instantaneously. With over 300 kilometers of range, this is a car that you can easily charge up fully on a Sunday and drive right through the week. If you drive on an average about 50 kilometers daily, then this is a great car to juice up on Sunday and then drive to office for the rest of the week. It takes about 8 hours, according to Tata Motors, to juice it up from 20% all the way to 100% from your home charging point. If you have a 3-pin charging point rather, then you can use it, and it takes about 8 hours. If of course you have a supercharger or a fast charger, it takes about 2 hours to charge it up from a zero charge all the way up to 100. So that's something which is there. Tata Motors will help you set up all those chargers. Well, so overall, the Tata Nexon EV is the best electric vehicle you can buy at the moment. It gives you a very good range of over 300 kilometers, which means that one full charge of the battery should be enough for you for the entire week. if you drive around 50 or 60 kilometers on an average on a daily basis. It's also very comfortable to sit in. It comes with a spacious cabin, a very strong body. It really feels very rigid, and it also comes with a host of connected apps, which makes life very easy and completely hassle-free. So this really is the best EV out there, and if you're in the market to buy your first electric vehicle, then you should definitely just go ahead and book the Tata Nexon EV. It's bye for now, and thanks for watching.